face LaxAllStars.
Welcome back to the show. It has been a long time. Obviously, we had originally said we were going to do it, I don't know, once every other week during the summer. Fail. We didn't come close. The summer definitely got away from us, but we're back here in the fall. We're trying to do some interesting things. We're going to try to put us on TV or YouTube or whatever you want to call it. We'll try that. But Team USA, U19 Team USA played this summer. The original game they played in January, they lost to Canada. I don't really know the score. It was a pretty high-scoring game. They were up big in the first half. Canada climbed back, and they actually won. It was an exhibition game. They played this summer. They beat Canada pretty heftily in the first game. Came back, and again, I don't really care about the rest of the games because everyone knows that the only two teams that actually matter in the U19 this year specifically was U.S. and Canada.
Well, I disagree because Iroquois was beating Canada. They almost beat Canada.
That's true.
And so I would say that certainly Canada and the U.S. are the two monster favorites. But I think the Iroquois absolutely are relevant in that conversation. I mean, they very easily could have beaten Canada. So
they
relevant.
Have
to be considered relevant.
They're relevant, but when it came down to U.S. versus Iroquois, they didn't see the ball. The whole time, they didn't see the ball. I mean, it was just a one side. I mean, I think the goal differential was like 10 or 12. I mean, that was pretty aggressive. Yeah. My thing about the U.S. U19 Team USA, and I know you have a background, AT, because you played. And my thing is there was a lot of weight on Nick Myers' shoulders going into this. The men's team lost. The women's team lost. We've never sniffed and came close to sniffing an indoor world title. Canada's taken both of those from the U19 and the men's elite. Yeah. So Canada right now is, without question, the best lacrosse in the world. They've proven it. But there was a lot of weight on Nick Myers. He pulls it out after what looked like they should have lost. And they probably should have. Came back. It was a gutsy effort, but talk a little bit about your experience, AT, and how Team USA U19 made an impact on your career, and how you see the team now, and how the world of selection in terms of American lacrosse selection works. What's your opinion on all of it?
Yeah, I mean, hard to believe that was 28 years ago. In 1988, we won the gold. I think we won 12-5 in the final, and we were expected to win. And I think that the major difference between then and now is that back then the Americans had youth leagues and really were farther ahead as it relates to teaching the field game and then the schemes associated with the field game. And,
right.
26 years later, the Canadians have arguably the better youth teaching movement with all of their box lacrosse and all of the, subtleties to that game. And in particular, the stick handling, the accelerated stick handling learning curve there, and their ability to, shoot a higher percentage, has really made up for what was for a long time a huge advantage to the Americans just in terms of the athleticism.
Right.
I think where the Americans in the last couple world championships, at least in the senior level, have gotten into trouble is they've played a slowed down game. And I think that, that really doesn't speak to the Americans exploiting, at least what is a perceived still advantage, and that's the athleticism. You would think that, they would want to play more pressure around the perimeter and would want to play a faster game. But let's face it, you get into a transition game with the Canadians, they don't miss many shots. And if you're going to step out and pressure around the perimeter and you go man down on Canada, you're probably going to end up disappointed because they're going to end up scoring. So I just think that we, in 1988, were at a distinct advantage because the youth leagues were so much farther ahead that we just had better athletes and were more organized. And, nowadays, I think that these kids, have a greater appreciation for developing athletically earlier, which I think has helped close the gap in that respect. And let's face it, the Canadians have better stick work. They do. They don't make the same amount of unforced turnovers. They all know how to feed. They all can handle tight passes. And they're clearly the world's best finishers. So you put all those things together and they start to become a very, very scary team to play. And then you start to factor in, the face-off game where the Americans, again, traditionally have always sort of dominated that area. If they can compete in that area, Canada and they're sharing possessions or winning more, they're going to be really scary because you don't really stop Canada from scoring. Let's face it. You have to outground ball them, and you have to, in order to do that, you got to win the faceoffs.
Right.
So I just think I agree with you. Nick Myers and his staff did an unbelievable job. They took a ton of heat when they put the roster together. Everybody was whining and saying, this roster is jaded. There's too many Ohio State players, too many Penn State players, too many UPenn players. And, sure enough, where they got beat, pretty decisively after putting this initial team together, they were able to get the team to gel and come together at the end when it mattered most and, made up, I think, a 3-goal deficit going into the fourth quarter. I believe it was a 3-goal deficit going into the fourth quarter and pulled out a great victory. So, and that's what good coaches do. They bring players together and they do it in a way that makes the sum of all the parts better than the individual parts. And they needed to come together as a team to win that game. And sure enough, they did. So awesome job.
I agree. I think they did a great job. I think there was a lot of heat on Nick. And I'll tell you, if he did lose, or I shouldn't even say that. I will say this. Given the final score of the U19 game, world gold medal game, you got to actually think to yourself, wow, are we, as Americans, are we getting better or are we getting worse developing our youth? Right? I mean, look, what year did you play? U19? 88?
1988.
88. And you walked over everyone.
The McDLT just came out for you older 45 plus. McDLT was a fast food item at McDonald's where it was cold on one side and warm on the other. So if you had a McDLT with cheese, on one side of the container was your bun, your burger, and your cheese. And then on the other side was the top of the bun, and it had mayonnaise on it, which was great because I love mayonnaise. And then lettuce and tomato. And they preached it as one side was hot and one side was cold. So if you get aggressive, Google McDLT, and you will see it's a long styrofoam, double-chambered styrofoam container, and it just came out, and it was fantastic.
But you got to figure, in 1988, you were expected to literally kill everyone. And to be honest, it's probably true in the U19s now. We're talking U19s.
Right.
Probably standard. Like, I didn't even hear about the U19 Worlds up until, I was like in college. And even then, if you look at all the scores, I mean, it was just murder, right? I mean, it was U.S. and then nobody. And that includes Canada. And now you look at what's happening at the main stage, the men's elite, where they're winning, and they've won 2 out of the last 3 World Games. And now they're close to beating the U19 team. You wonder, what is the U.S. doing for the youth out there in terms of development? And obviously, U.S. Lacrosse came out with new rules. They're shortening the fields, finally. They're shortening the nets. I feel like in personal, and you heard about those rules, right, AT?
Yeah.
I feel like they're doing a little bit of drastic measures to this. But I do think that the one thing, no matter what rules you're going to change, there's an aspect of being inside of a boarded rink, where the ball bounces back to you at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. That keeps the ball perpetually in play at all times. That changes, like when we throw the ball out of bounds, it's up, coaching moment, we set our kids up, we do all this. Nah, we're talking touches and reps. If we have out of bounds and not a board, I mean, things aren't really going to change all that much.
We're conditioned to stop.
Right.
Where the Canadians are conditioned to continue to play, or people, I shouldn't say the Canadians, but the people that are playing box lacrosse,
yes.
The game never ends because it's just like a hockey game, obviously.
It doesn't stop.
Outside with, particularly youth level, where, they have more passing and catching stick mistakes, it's a stop all the time, whether the ball goes out of bounds or the whistle, whatever it may be. So I agree with you. I think that, there is a sincere advantage that the Canadians have as it relates to just playing faster for longer.
Right.
That we don't seem to benefit from with playing in the field instead of playing in the rink. So I think you're dead on. I know that you tweeted out about that, and
I was really passionate. I haven't been on Twitter, and just because I've done social media overload, got Facebook, got Snapchat, got Instagram, I'm all over the place.
You sound like my daughter Tyler, Ryan.
Oh no, Tyler's on all of that. Oh,
some
Jesus.
of it, yeah.
Oh,
some
Jesus. So that means Andy's going to start being on that. That's for sure.
Or Andy's got to start stopping being on that, one or the other.
So, but I was like, when that all came out, look, I'm excited that U.S. Lacrosse has made major moves, but I'm not excited that, one, there are certainly safety issues that they've never foreseen, because guess what? None of those guys are on social media telling everyone about the next cool drill to do. They just publish the drills that like kids from college do from the college coaches. I mean, nothing that U.S. Lacrosse does improves the development of the kids, although this is the first time they're trying, and I like it, but I think that there are massive holes they need to fix. For instance, if you have a 3x3 net with a 4 or 5 foot goalie, are they going to play up or are they going to play down? Now, I think you can make it fun for the kids and put them in NHL hockey pads, and you can have fun with the kids and put them in, indoor pads. That's all fun. In fact, everyone will want to participate. But the thing is they haven't even thought about that. They're like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. Rules to come. It's kind of like the NFL. It's like, yeah, we're going to do this, and wait for everyone to filter all their good ideas and bad ideas, and then go ahead. Who did they include in trying to make this the right thing? Do they include college coaches who don't coach youth kids on a daily basis?
Right.
Do they include, I don't even know who the CEO of U.S. Lacrosse is.
Steve Stenerson. Very good guy.
Who is he, though? Did he play lacrosse?
He played at Carolina.
But when's the last time he's coached a team?
I don't think he has.
Right.
He coaches his kids' teams. I don't know.
Right. But even then, it's like...
I mean, what I like about it is I like that they are at least getting to work and trying to address which clearly is a need. And you got to respect that. Do they get it perfect?
But do you think, hold on, AT,
around?
do you think that they're doing that because they think it's in the best interest of the youth development? Or do you think they've gotten trashed over the last 2 years where they're like, Jesus, we gotta make a move. What do you think we should do? You know what I'm saying?
I think they're doing it in the best interest of youth development. I think listen, you're never going to please everybody.
True.
And no matter
Definitely
what they
me.
do, there's going to be, a group of people that are naysayers. I think that they have to be applauded for.
This is a good step.
Look, this is the way. The first thing that you do is you put out what you think is the best call, and then you perpetually groom the template, and eventually, you die and somebody else takes over and does it. But let's face it. I mean, nothing is ever a finished product ever.
Right.
Right.
I agree.
Not even the NFL, and nothing is.
No. Actually, the finished product was the MLL. It started in 2001, hasn't changed 16 years later. It's done. It's perfect, right?
Right.
It's perfect, right?
Well, they finally added a poll, and we'll find out what.
They added the poll 7 years ago.
Is that what it was? 7 years ago they added the poll?
It was so long ago. I only think they added the poll, or it didn't have a poll for 4
the
or 5
MLL the MLL needs to bring back the dive. And even if it's just for the MLL.
It is.
Oh, it is full time?
Yeah. So that's how much you know about the MLL.
Well, that's probably true.
I'll probably cut that out of the podcast. I won't, though.
Keep it in, you prick.
But no, I agree with you. No, this is 100%. Look, I'm glad because they're going to see so many mistakes. My only fear, again, they just got to worry about the safety. If you shrink nets, let's just say, go to extreme example. You take a 4th grader, put him in lacrosse goalie equipment, and then have him defend a soccer net, right? He's never going to get hit. He's never going to get hit. He's just going to get scored on all the time. But when you shrink it to a mice hole behind him, he's going to get hit a lot, and he's not going to like it. And so you got to fix that problem. And then you also have the problem with, if he's not going to like it, we're not going to have any goalies. If he's not going to like it, now all of a sudden you have injury issues and all that kind of stuff. So I do applaud that they finally made a drastic. This isn't some small move they've made, which they do in the women's game all the time. For instance, high school chicks still can't run through the crease on defense, but in college they can, which teaches just awful defensive principles.
Well, they have to get that aligned.
They have to get that fixed.
So that everybody's coaching the same.
Correct.
There's no question. The one thing that I noticed about the rules is that they seemed, it seems like we're really trying to just totally eliminate the physicality of the sport. It just,
but obviously
you have to protect, the players, but it just seems like, literally they are just trying to eliminate all hitting and all physicality. And, from playing pro box, I know from playing pro box that at least when I played, I remember the NLL feeling like it was as close to, a street fight or a war as I'd ever been in. At least
it is a street fight.
If you're not looking to the left and the right all the time, you're going to get a cross check to the back of your neck. You're going to get a cross check to the hip. You're going to get somebody that's going to wind up and hit you across the shins. You're going to get something on the wrist. Like
people think that's dirty. The thing is if I'm the best offensive player, I'm just making this up. If I'm the best offensive player on the field and I have to think about you hitting me on the hip, I'm not going to be as good on offense.
You bet. And everybody's thinking about it. I mean, I was thinking about it. I had 150 career goals in college, and I probably had 5 in pro indoor lacrosse because I just, number one, I wasn't that good of a shooter, but number two, exactly like you said, you're just aware of career-ending cheap all the time, and we didn't grow up playing that. We grew up with, outside it wasn't that sort of mentality, and you go and you play, and you're like, you can't even believe this, and and that was the sort of the first time when we played in the 1988 U19 games playing against Team Canada. We started to see that stuff on the field, and you couldn't even believe that it was going on. And the funniest part about it was I remember playing against Tommy Fair and Pat Coyle and Neil Doddridge, all guys that went on to become, legends in the NLL pro indoor game later on in life, and playing against these guys in the U19 games, I wanted to kill these guys. And then you'd go and you'd see them at the reception, and they were like the nicest guys.
Oh, the nicest guys.
And it was as though they never even cross-checked it. I'm like, is this the
same
guy?
They don't remember.
They don't even remember doing it. And
it's instinctual.
It is. It's instinctual, and it's part of the culture of the game. And if you just couldn't appreciate that, having never been exposed to it, but now, 30 years afterwards, you can see how that is no different. What they did to us then is no different than what the Pistons did to Jordan.
That's right.
In the late 80s, they just said,
example.
What, we're just we can't hang with you athletically. You're more skilled than us. We're going to simply see if you're tough enough to handle it mentally, to stay in your game and do what you do so well, while you might get, a career-ending injury. And if you can do it, more power to you. And if you can't, it worked, and we win. And go Labats. Right?
I love it, man. We're going to take a quick break here, and we're going to come back to a recap of all the jobs that happened this summer. And we've got a good take that I don't think a lot of people have a take on what we're going to talk about. But we'll be back. Hang with us. Maximize it. Welcome back to the show. Again, we've got jobs. There was a bunch of them this summer, and I'm looking over the list, and I feel like I'm definitely missing a few, probably because we already covered them over the summer. But the ones that we did not cover are the following: UMBC, Jacksonville, Binghamton, UVA, and then, of course, spoiler alert, UVA was replaced by Tufts. So let's get to the top of the order. Ryan Moran is named head coach, the offensive coordinator at Loyola, named head coach at UMBC. Couldn't be a more perfect fit than being right there in Baltimore, where he's been for God knows how long, at Maryland and then Loyola and now at UMBC. I'm really happy for Ryan because now he takes over. He's, everyone talks about filling in footsteps. He's filling. Look, there's no one filling in bigger footsteps than Ryan Moran because he's got a dad that's done it and been successful in Long Island for years. And talk about one of the nicer guys in this country, in the sport, one of the smartest guys in the sport, who's done a great job. Really pumped to see Ryan Moran get the UMBC job.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think that, having been an assistant for a long time and eventually getting a head coaching opportunity, I certainly can understand the desire to be a head coach. And I think that, ultimately what happens is when you've played such a huge role in the success of programs. He was at Maryland before that. Right. I think he was at Navy first, right?
Yeah.
Navy, and then Maryland, and then Loyola, going to the Final Four this year, and now at UMBC. I think what happens is you just start to have conviction about the way that you think things should be done. And while no one was a more loyal coworker than Ryan Moran to the various coaches that he's worked for many of the legends in today's game, I just think that you reach a point where you want things done the way that you want them done, and he has more than earned this opportunity. I would even expand that not only is he following in the footsteps of his dad, which is a legend in the coaching ranks. He's taking over for one of the very best coaches of all time, in Don Zimmer.
You already mentioned that too. Yep.
Who frankly doesn't get enough time in the best guys to ever coach the sport conversation. So I think they made the right hire there, and I think that he's going to be there for a very, very long time, and I think he's going to return the Retrievers to national prominence sooner rather than later. So I'm really happy for that.
He's got so much leeway at UMBC. Look, and I base what I really meant when I was like filling big shoes. I just assumed that everyone knew Don Zimmerman, one of the greatest coaches of all time. He's got to fill those footsteps, but he's got a bigger internal chip on his shoulder because he lived with it his entire life.
Yeah.
And so I was just really pumped to see him take over that job, and I know he's going to do great. I know he's going to do a great job. And if I'm Don Zimmerman, I'm actually pumped that Ryan Moran's the guy that succeeds me, because you got legend. I mean, Don. That's a really nice kind of transition for UMBC. So I was pumped about that. Next one up is Jacksonville. Now, this one, by the way, I'm gonna kind of tangent off a little bit. I chased the jobs all summer, by the way. AT, I did. Yeah. It was driving me nuts. I felt like Adam Schefter, and I, to be honest, I was Adam Schefter of Lacrosse for 40 days, and Adam Schefter, you can have your job.
You were like Ryan Schefter, his hairier, edgier, tougher brother.
Dude, but he can have his damn job back. His job sucks. I want nothing to do with his job. So I didn't do it as quote unquote professionally as Schefter does, and he gets paid millions of dollars to do what he does, and I get paid nothing to do what I do. But of course I didn't do perspective, and I got a couple jabs at a couple legitimate journalists in our sport being like, hey, you're not really a journalist. And I'm like, hey, I know, but you know what? Sometimes you need a little competition from people that you don't know, or people that you do know that just piss you off and make you want to do your job better.
Right.
And I'm not saying that anyone in our sport doesn't do their job better, but I just wanted to do it. I was just like, look,
and you spent $240,000 on a journalism degree, and I spent none. So
true. I spent $240,000 on a government job and ended up being a professional after-school sports coach. So we're all in the same boat here. But I did. I was like Ryan Schefter for a summer, and I'll tell you right now, have your jobs back. Look, I'm never going to do it again. It was fun. It was cool to break a few stories, but I don't want it ever again. So we're going on to Jacksonville right now. Just kind of brought it up. because
thanks for giving us a peek behind the curtain. Team
dude,
would say there.
I want to swear because that's all I do on a normal basis, and
Right.
it was
My
so
wife
brutal.
thinks I swear a lot, and little does she know that I'm swearing in my head 3 times as much as I'm actually swearing. So I'm actually 4 times as bad.
As what your wife thinks.
Yes. She's already borderline intervention in that area.
So we got Jacksonville. Callaway, Powell was kind of Callaway was named head coach at Jacksonville. Of course, this is one of the stories
We'll
that
just call it Callaway, like Brangelina.
Callaway. Right. Oh, it's like Brangelina, but they broke up. Callaway, I love it. Right. But John Callaway was named head coach. Well, wasn't named head coach, was actually given the job, but they didn't want to disclose it because I know Johnny was like, look, I got to get this guy. And of course, it was in the package deal. I'm going to get Casey Powell. It's going to be a big swing. And look, if any school needs big publicity, it's Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. If you need big publicity to draw recruits, what better guy on your staff to do it than Casey Powell? No other better guy. Unless, and we're going to talk about this at the end of the show, AT, you're going to marry up Callaway, Powell, and then marry it up with John Grant Jr. Then you're going to win a national championship in 2 days because you're going to get the best Canucks. You're going to get the best Americans. They're all
2 days they'd have to suit the staff. 2 days they'd have to suit the staff.
And then they would win. But Callaway named Jacksonville, of course. Casey Powell, the big story of the summer, going from retirement to the MLL, which is an incredible career. And God bless Casey Powell. He's absolutely one of top 5 all-time greatest players ever to hold a stick. Were named to Jacksonville. What were your thoughts?
I think these guys are the perfect hire for a program like Jacksonville. Certainly as you just addressed, instantly Jacksonville gets named 2 guys that are huge name recognition guys with, the best goalie probably on the planet right now in Callaway and arguably the best player of all time, or one of the top, 3, 4, 5, as you said, coming right in to take over a program that I got to imagine is not signing a ton of, top 10 recruiting classes, at least to this date. And so they're going to be getting guys that are, at the very worst. I can't believe they got them. They're going to get guys at the very worst that are going to come down to Jacksonville to take a recruiting trip there just to get Casey's autograph.
That's right.
And you know what? You get enough of those guys on campus and, you're going to start to sign some people that change your program really, really quickly. And the other side of this is that, you've got 2 ends of the field with the defensive end and the offensive end and 2 of the very top minds in the sport at those, coaching those 2 aspects of your team. And then you fuse that with the fact that both of those guys are extremely down to earth, relate to everybody. I mean,
that
Casey,
is very
John
true.
Callaway, there's no arrogance whatsoever.
Not even close.
In either of those guys.
Yep.
And so it's gonna all they do is gonna get the best out of everybody, and so I think that you're really looking at a program that's going to take a huge jump into at least
winnable Division
league.
2.
Yeah, a winnable league. They're going to be instantaneously a very, very scary team. And while they may need, a year or 2 to get a round of their players, I think you're going to see a team that plays and competes a lot more passionately right away because they're going to be playing for the coaches and those 2 guys as players, Casey and John Callaway, know exactly what it takes to unify a group of players to play together as a team. And so I think you're going to see those guys do a phenomenal job down there. So I'm really excited for Jacksonville. I'm excited for the players in the program, for the recruits coming in, and I'm going long on Jacksonville in the men's lacrosse program.
I am too, and I want to, first off, everyone wants to talk about Casey Powell being the big story of the summer. I actually, to the point you already made about the humbleness, look, I've sat with John Callaway, and I'm very sure when I sat with John and I'm like, hey man, how you doing? Just like shooting the crap with them, all that kind of stuff. And he makes you believe, and I'm done playing the game of lacrosse. He made me believe I was the best player by the end of the conversation.
Yeah, which is cool.
He's just so cool of a guy, and to marry that up with a guy like Casey, who was also the same way. I mean, look, you can look in the eyes of a guy who's literally top 5 all-time best players ever to hold a stick. He will literally convince you that you are literally, oh, you're right with me the whole time. I'm like, no. I don't even really know you. You don't even know me.
Right. They don't, there's not a big time U-bone in their body, which I think is.
That's why they paired up.
I think it's a home run.
Kevin McCown, Binghamton. We talked about this off air, AT, but Binghamton, McCown, an 06 alum from Binghamton. I graduated in 06 at Dartmouth, and Binghamton was incredible. And we talk about on the show how powerful the face-off and goalie position can be. Kevin McCown, at the time he played, put Binghamton on the map, and they were a scary team. And to be honest, they're still a scary team.
Right.
And Kevin McCown comes back to his alma mater after being, around. But boom, at Binghamton, going into Bellarmine, and then coming back. I mean, this is a great hire for a program, and I don't care where they want to stretch from. This guy knows the program. He knows the game of lacrosse. He's seen it from sitting in the goal, and I do think that goalies have a great perspective on both sides of the ball. What are your thoughts here?
I think this is a home run hire, for a job that, let's face it, virtually everybody else coaching college lacrosse looks at that job as a, NFW, am I going to apply?
Right.
Or if I do apply,
trying to get a raise.
I'll go there for, 3 years and then hopefully get out of there as fast as possible. I think the thing that makes this such a great hire for Binghamton, aside from the things that you spoke about, which is the fact that he was, outstanding, one of the nation's best goaltenders while he was there, and certainly is a great lacrosse mind. I think the thing that makes this such a great hire is that he's an alum of the school, right? And so he's got a passion to see this program return to national prominence like it was when he and his classmates were there.
100%.
And he does it with virtually zero pressure, because let's face it, that program has been run into the ground and it's not paying anything. It's not like people are saying, let's go vacation in Binghamton. If our family vacation to Pottstown falls through, then we can go to Binghamton and people are doing cartwheels. But if you aren't already planning on a trip to Pottstown, Binghamton is staring up at rock bottom, right? So I think that this is a home run for Binghamton, the kids in the program, and you got to be happy for Kevin getting this job. So great, that's a great hire.
All right, now we're moving on to the big one, and it's kind of dual purpose because we're gonna talk about a little bit about Brown, actually a lot about Brown.
Is Curtis to Westminster? Oh, it's the other big one.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. Curtis joins us. Myself.
We gotta get Curtis.
We gotta get Curtis back on the program. Maybe we gotta back on the program.
We need Curtis's positive energy. It's threatening overtones.
His positive energy was like, hey, hey, look, I'm doing one-on-one. I'm not a Dodger. Curtis, I'm not a Dodger. I'm going one-on-one with you. We're good, right? He's like, yeah. And snaps into an animal and literally beats me up for like 15 one-on-one straight because it was an even number of guys in the line, and I lined up to him for 15 reps straight. Anyway, that's a digression.
I loved it when he grew his beard out the last 2 or 3 years at Vermont. What I really wanted to do was I wanted to borrow this green olive sweater vest that Scott Hochstadt used to wear around all the time. And I wanted to put it on Ryan Curtis, number one, because green, it was the school colors of Vermont, so it would have been perfect in that respect. But moreover that, when fused with his beard that he had, he actually resembled Gans from the original movie 48 Hours, which was the villain to Eddie Murphy. And it was a perfect, who actually played Ajax in the movie The Warriors. If you remember that as well, same character, but his
I
beard,
definitely remember.
Yes, same beard. But so let's go. So the big news. Go on to the big news. Sorry.
Big news, dude. That's such a sick digression.
It happens.
It's all right. Lars Tiffany. Lars Tiffany takes over the Cavaliers. And now we've talked about this a bunch on the show. Lars was a candidate, we thought, front runner, one of the front runners. Andy Shea was another front runner. Obviously, we talked about Kevin Corrigan. In fact, on our Twitter account, it really wasn't either one of us tweeting about Kevin Corrigan getting the job from our In Your Face LaxCast Twitter account. It was me.
I think I said he's definitely getting it.
Yeah, and so I was like, oh, if you say it, and I've heard definitely from other people, I'm definitely doing it. Which, again, reason why I'm never going to be Ryan Schefter ever again. So Lars was in that front runner. He was actually not in the front running of the job for the longest time.
Right.
And then finally they came to their senses. They finally picked up the phone, called him. And,
rumor has it that it was Corrigan's job to turn down.
Right.
They went back and forth, and eventually
he turned it down.
Kevin decided to go back to stay at Notre Dame, which is great. And then they, we both know they went after Andy Shea, which is what they should have done. And Yale did the right thing and was proactive in making sure he's not going anywhere. By the way.
They didn't win after Shea, but it was prior to them actually.
Really smart. They've cemented their future for as long as the next 15 years or whatever. 100%. As long as Andy continues to coach, Yale is going to be right there. And I don't care what the league does.
Andy actually mentioned he ended up being like, hey, why wouldn't
pizza
you go to
still sucks there, Rick. Still sucks.
Yeah. You know what he mentioned? He was like, why isn't we were like, UVA's got to be one of the most prominent, if not best jobs in the country. He's like, why isn't mine? I thought that was a sick line. And you know what? That's a guy who is in it for Yale for probably the rest of his career, as he should.
You know what? He's right. I mean, how do you
absolutely right?
How do you argue that?
Other than the pizza
in sport, as we've said many times, in a sport where people can't sign big lucrative contracts coming out of college, you're going to get that big lucrative deal graduating from Yale a lot sooner than you are anywhere else in the country. There may be a couple schools that it's tie, but it's only tie.
Right.
He's a very smart guy.
He is a smart guy. But Lars Tiffany takes over UVA, and of course, you being the guy who transcends both Dom, both Lars, both Brown, somewhat of UVA. You don't really transcend there. You went on a visit there, official visit, of course. And
2 visits. I did so well in high school academically. I actually had time for 2 visits there. Right?
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Lars Tiffany? How bummed are you? How pumped are you? What was the scoop?
I think first and foremost, let me say that as a Brown alum and a friend of Lars's, all we can do is be appreciative of the job that he did during his time at Providence. Let's face it. He brought Brown back to national, he brought them back to a
Since
top.
94.
Yeah. I mean, he brought them to the Final Four, which had only been done one time. And he is going to be sorely missed because as an alum, like we talked about with Kevin in Binghamton, as an alum, he was personally invested as well as professionally invested. And we knew as alums, as much as we wanted Brown to succeed on the lacrosse field, Lars wanted to have Brown succeed a little bit more than we all did.
Yeah, of course.
And his family's quality of life was connected to that. And so for that, I'm really sorry to see him, or I was really not disappointed. I was sad to see him go.
Right.
I also think that he had to go. Okay,
you would have gone.
Compete.
You would have gone.
Absolutely, I would have gone. Absolutely, and I think that as he stated in the press release, listen, anybody that doesn't agree with the statement that you're going to be in the running for a national championship more often as the head coach of Virginia than you will be at Brown, it doesn't know the sport.
Nah, they don't
and
know the
so,
sport.
As a coach, you're doing it to win national championships. And so Lars had to make this move because this gets him closer to competing for a national championship every single year. And that is the absolute pinnacle in the sport of lacrosse for us. It's bigger than a world championship.
He's looking to be number 10.
It's exactly right. And so he had to take the move. And then you factor in the uptick in finances between everything all involved. He's making more money. He's living in an area where, in Providence, the weather's great for 1 season. Down there, it's
no. You're using the same analogies as you do in Hanover. There's at least another.
It's different.
It is a different.
Hanover only has 2 weeks of good weather, Ryan. Providence has a full season of good weather. Okay, and so I just think that this was the right time. He earned it. He did, and he jumped on it. And to his credit, he took it, and he was honest on his way out the door. Now I know that the Brown players were disappointed that he left, and certainly I was disappointed when Dom left.
I was disappointed when Ricky left.
Yep, and I get it from that standpoint, but it's for Lars. It's not about the players at Brown. It's about Lars's family's quality of life. That's what it's about. And the better that Lars does at moving his career forward, the higher quality of life he and his family has, and that's what it's about for Lars. And to his credit, he took the move. So I'm happy for Lars. I was disappointed to see him leave Brown. Sad to see him leave Brown. Not disappointed. I was actually happy for him. And I was concerned about that coaching vacancy and who would fill it.
Oh, don't ruin it. Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it because no one knows yet. We're the first to announce it. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about who did replace Brown. But on top of that, we're going to talk a little bit about, again, something that not a lot of people have taken a little research to. Annie and I have talked about it. We'll be right back. Maximize your comfort. My boy, Chris Fifes, UNC assistant coach, defensive coordinator.
Yes, Fifes.
Who won a national championship, killed it, worked really hard. By the way, was not the defensive coordinator. You're talking to an all-world player. His boss is an all-world defenseman. And then he comes in as a midfielder from Maryland, another at the time ACC school, works his ass off. Gets to the point where he takes over defense, and when he does, within 3 to 4 years, I apologize, Chris, I don't remember when you exactly took over the defensive coordinator role, but when you did, within a certain amount of time, 3 or 4 years, you win a national championship. Congratulations on University of Vermont. AT, what do you think of this hire?
I think it's a home run of a hire. Listen, you're getting a guy that's familiar with the area of Burlington, Vermont, due to family connections there. So
which is really cool, by the way. I didn't even know that. He told me on the phone, he was like, look, I did a camp at Camp something right down the street from Burlington. I have a really huge affinity to it. I thought that was awesome. So keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, you look at him and he's like, I'm from up there. And I said, are you sure it wasn't Finland where you were? Was it Sweden or Greenland? But you got a guy that likes the area, and that I think is the greatest hurdle for the University of Vermont in keeping their coaches, people 100%. That want to be in those areas. And so you marry that up with the fact that he's coming off a national championship year as the defensive coordinator at an ACC school, and like Callaway, he's an incredibly down to earth, unassuming guy who also is hyper competitive and, has a great appreciation for attention to detail. And so all of those things combine to make him just a home run. I had initially spoken about my hope that they were going to hire Mike Kruger for that job. I still believe that Mike Kruger would have done a great job there, as he was Ryan Curtis's assistant and had been up there for years. But, if they weren't going to hire him, when I was saying that, obviously I didn't know who else was looking at the job. I was just an advocate for Mike. But, after it's all now said and done and Fifes has the job there, you really can't think of anybody that would be a better fit than him. So I think that they knocked it out of the park.
What a staff. He brings in WAC offensive coordinator Chris Miller. He brings in Bernhardt,
yep, stud.
And that's such a great move. Yep. I mean, he brings in arguably of all the coaching moves. I mean, look, Powell's going to have Casey Powell. I don't care how good you are at lacrosse. There is a learning curve that he is going to need when it comes time to actually recruiting, coaching on field, doing it every day. Like actually, I remember AT, you and I would battle it out in office meetings about what you wanted for just 2 hours for practice Every day we did that. That's a learning curve. No, he brings in guys that already know that learning curve.
Right.
I mean, that's impressive to me. And on top of it, that whole association with him knowing the area. I mean, I talked to him at length. I thought for him, this is awesome. I mean, look, sure, the only best time of the year that is in Burlington, Vermont, and I'll tell you, it's one of the most underrated, and I've said this to everyone I've ever known, one of the most underrated cities in America.
It is. It's a great spot.
It is a great spot, but unfortunately, he's on the recruiting road during the only best time.
But at least they have an airport there. They don't have to take a horse and buggy like we did from Hanover all the way down on the Bob job down to Manchester.
75 minutes.
Southwest.
It's tough.
Right.
No, they just go right to Burlington Airport, 10-minute spot, and they get to wherever they want.
JetBlue, immediate televisions.
Right.
Everything.
So,
SkyMix, tons of JetBlue SkyMix.
Really, really excited for Chris Weiss at U of M. But the last coaching move, of course, the one that we haven't covered, of course, is Mike Daly to Brown from Tufts. I think it was 3-time national championship or 2-time?
Tufts?
Yeah. 2 or 3?
I think he's won more than that. I don't know. I think he's won. Did he win the last 2? It seems to me like he's won the national championship.
I think
it seems like it's been 5 times, but
I know, but he's been there a lot.
Don't know. Yeah.
There's sick research we did.
Cemented himself as the best coach in Division III the last 5 years. No question, right? That's a fair assessment.
Berkman's been there, and he's still there.
Berkman's the best in the last 15 years because he's done it so many more times. But
then you got our guy Jay Kuhn.
Did Berkman take over?
Then you got our guy Jay Kuhn. Jay Kuhn took RIT from nobody
from 3-27 because that's what Mike Daly. When Mike Daly took over Tufts, they were like,
but that was like 1988. No
for the 3 years before he got there.
Time, right? I mean, Jay Kuhn took it over in the last 10 years. I mean, that's impressive for a guy to take it over. And then, of course, you got Canabine, who's done a great job too. I think those 4 guys have cemented themselves. And I'm just arguing to argue. Yes, I do think Mike Daly.
Although you do that from time to time.
Yes, I do, and I do. I do think that Mike Daly has cemented himself as the best coach in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's fair.
But there are great coaches there. But Mike Daly takes over Brown. Now, without doing any further research, and we're going to do some cool research here, how do you feel about Mike Daly taking over Brown? Without explaining any further.
I got to be honest. I'm really, really excited. I mean, clearly the guy is a proven winner. I trust Jack Hayes, the athletic director at Brown. I trust Bernie Bonanno. I trust Ron Daglish, who are both, Brown lacrosse alums that were on the committee who, have a great judge of character. You cannot argue with the success that Mike Daly has had. People say, hey, he didn't play lacrosse. But you know what? He obviously has established a winning culture, and he knows how to recruit super smart student athletes. And he's been able to put together a winning product on the field at a place that, was the worst in the NESCAC when he took over. And so I'm ecstatic. While I don't know him personally,
you'll get to know him real well. We all know that. You'll get to know him real well. We all know that.
Well, if he's able to stay out late at night, Ryan. Otherwise, we might not ever meet. But with that said, Mike Frizzoli, whose kid Jack Frizzoli is going to, stud, from Massachusetts guy. And Mike Frizzoli played football at Tufts with Mike Daly, and he just said that the guy is just an absolute winner, stud, home run. And that's all I've heard. I've heard no negatives. The only negative I look at, and I know we're going to talk about this a little bit, is just the fact that, you're Division III and you're going to Division I. And to me, while the game is the same, I just don't think the overall job is the same. And that'll probably bum some people out. But I just think that due to all the rules and the recruiting, it's a different animal. But let's face it, if anybody has proved himself able to handle that without actually having done it before, it's Mike Daly. So I'm extremely optimistic that that Virginia got better with the hiring of Lars, and I'm going to be hopeful that Brown will get better as well, and for different reasons than what Lars brought to the table. So I'm excited.
Well, one of the things you should be most excited about is the pace of play. Definitely is not going to tone it down. That's for sure. Right. I mean, Mike Daly made it very known when he was at Tufts that, hey, this is what we're going to do. and I'm going to live with 38 turnovers a game, but I'm going to shoot 150 shots.
Well, you better have a great goalie, and you better have the best goalie and the best face-off guy if you're going to continue to stick to that pace of play. Because, as great as Brown was last year, and everybody says, hey, they play such fun, fast lacrosse, blah, 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 blah. You know why? Because Corral is the best face-off guy in the country, and Jack Kelly's probably the second best player in the country. Both are the best at their respective positions. And when you're winning 70% of the faceoffs stepping onto the field and your goalie saving 68% of the shots that he faces stepping onto the field, it allows you to play that way and pound people.
Larkin Kemp definitely made it easy too.
Same with Tullett.
That's right. You're right.
Same with the attack and same with the short sticks. I mean, listen, they all had a part of it. And I'm not saying that style of play isn't the way to play. But I'm saying that if you don't get great goaltending and you don't get great face-off success, playing that way will get you beat.
At Division I, I agree. However, Mike Daly might disagree with you because he's been playing that way for the last 5, 6, 7 years now, and he's been very successful.
But look at the goaltenders and look at the face-off guys. He's had it tough.
But is Dylan Malloy a product of the pace of play? Is Larkin Kemp a product of the pace of play? Is Alec?
No, they're special talents. They're special talents no matter what system they're playing.
Would we have ever seen it if Lars didn't decide to go with?
Not to this. We wouldn't have the same amount of data points simply because there wouldn't be as many because they wouldn't be there wouldn't be that many possessions per team. Yet you cannot refute the fact that those guys are special players that will make special plays every time they play. But if each possession or each team's getting 18 possessions per game versus each team getting 42 possessions per game, you're just not going to have as many data points.
I don't disagree with you at all there. But let's talk a little bit about, let's bum you out, AT.
Great.
I want to bum you out a little bit because not a lot of talk has been had about D3 head coach going to a D1 school. And I wanted to tweet this out, but I just didn't do enough research. And talking with you, we did enough.
You've become a little downtrodden on your media game, you said, too. So.
That's right. And I had the tweet ready to go, and I saved it into my drafts. I got like 1,000 drafts, and a lot of it's actually just drunken stupidness. But so Mike Daly goes from D3 to D1.
Yahoo email data breach then may put you in jeopardy there.
So we did a little research just off the top of our heads about the success of D3 head coaches who go directly to D1. Now, people who think about, Bill Tierney types. Bill Tierney went from Cortland, right?
Yep.
You
mean as a student?
As a player. Where did he go? He was D3.
He went to Cortland, played lacrosse at Cortland, right?
Yeah, and then went straight to Hopkins as an assistant? No.
I believe he went to RPI and coached women's soccer where he won he went to the national semifinal. He did some unbelievable job coaching the women's soccer team, and obviously he never played women's soccer. And then he coached the men's lacrosse team and did a great job. I believe, and then he ended up going and working for Zim at Hopkins. I think that's correct.
Close enough, but still very impressive. Yeah. But he made a stop in D1 before he took.
He stopped off at Princeton for 6 natties.
Yeah, nice stop off.
Right. Well, what he did is he pulled into the Molly Pitcher rest area off I-95 to get some gas, and saw
that's
that
on the turnpike, by the way.
Princeton job. He saw Jerry Schmidt was stepping down at Princeton, so he just dropped in for 21 years and 6 natties, and then split.
So Tierney types are not included in this, but we're going to go through a few that I know that we all know, and I'm going to do it by, I guess, I don't know. We made a list, and worst to best, I guess.
Do it by the type of music they like.
We're going to start with Scott Nelson. Scott Nelson.
Country and folk music, I think you probably like.
Scott Nelson went from Nazareth to Brown.
Yeah.
Then Marist, then Binghamton.
Yeah.
We all know his path. Successful or not successful? Where are you going, AT?
Well, he obviously won, I think, 3 national championships at Nazareth, at a place that had never won a national championship before. So he was wildly successful there. He went up to Brown, and
he actually recruited well. Really
well. He's a likable guy, and I think he did a good job in a lot of aspects of the program, but I just don't think he was a great fit there, because you look at, the type of student athletes he's recruiting to Nazareth versus the type of student athletes he's recruiting to Brown. And I think while he's likable at the end of the day, I just don't think it was an appropriate fit. I thought he would go and do a better job at Binghamton than he did.
Well, Marist, he went to Marist first after he got fired from Brown.
I think he did a pretty good job at Marist.
He did okay. He did all right. And I thought in his first year he did all right at Binghamton.
Overall, if we're evaluating success as a national championship,
Up or down?
You got to say no. He wasn't great as a Division I head coach.
The next one, old school, Dave Urich. Dave Urich
was still better than me.
Yeah. Dave Urich, multinational championship in D3 at Hobart, goes to Georgetown, and Georgetown to this day, and I know Kevin's trying to do his best, has been one of the biggest underachievers, if not the biggest underachiever.
Maybe the biggest.
Yeah.
I think that Dave Urich, I want to say, won 11. I think like 11 national championships in Hobart or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
And I think he won them all in a row before Scott Nelson eventually was the guy, I think, to beat him. And then he gets the job at Georgetown. Georgetown was transitioning from like a club program to Division I. Mm-hmm. And he took them to a Final Four when Connor Gill was a freshman. It was down at College Park. I drove down there.
They got the new helmets that year too.
There was a lot of mayonnaise in the truck. It smelled like mayonnaise from my sandwich, and it smelled like dip,
a lot of turkey,
from Hanford side. It was beat, and the windows were down, and he. But Hanford was cranking Fred Durst seemingly for 17 straight hours while we stuck in traffic. But he was good. He was good early. I would say that I'm going to give Coach Urich the second best performance in the transition from Division III head coach to Division I head coach.
I would second best, because I got two other guys on this list. It might beat Urich. Next one probably is the best, and maybe not, but you got to go Mike Pressler.
Sure.
Mike Pressler went from Ohio Wesleyan to Duke, and while he did not win a national championship, while he did bring Duke to a couple Final Fours, I believe, he never could get over that hump. And of course, his career ended with a sham job. Sucks. But now he's sitting on probably 8 figures, and he's sitting on another 6 at Bryant, and he's sitting awfully fine, as deserved. But Mike Pressler goes from Ohio Wesleyan to Duke. Is he successful in terms of the eyes of the world of lacrosse?
You know what? I think in Mike Pressler's case, you have to say yes. I mean, if you're going to do a cut and dry, he didn't win a national championship.
But at Duke, though.
We're talking Duke. But listen, he accomplished the exact same things at Duke as he did at Ohio Wesleyan. He never won a national championship at Ohio Wesleyan.
100%
He lost in the national championship with Charlie Blanchard and Toby Boucher and Kevin Finneran, and they had some incredible teams.
I think Kevin Finneran was there for like 6 weeks, right?
Well, he transferred from Cornell to OU. But they had some great teams, and they always somehow lost to Hobart, who always seemed to have 1 or 2 more players than they did.
Experience helps too.
Exactly right. But let's face it, he took them to one of the best 2 teams in Division III, and then went and got the job at Duke when the Needham Needler was becoming, I think, a junior, and Kevin Eriks was a junior that class. And so I believe that Mike Pressler coached those guys for 2 years. Mike Murphy, the current Penn coach, was there. And, he quickly took a team that was sort of a top 15 team nationally. And let's face it, he brought them to arguably the best 2 teams in the country again right there. In the year that, the whole Duke scandal happened, they may have won the national championship that year. I want to say that they beat Virginia 17-2. And then I mean they were the team.
They could have been arguably one of the best teams of all time.
That's right. Matt Danowski, I believe, was like a sophomore and was attackman of the year, and they had the Brattons were committed to go to Duke, I think, at that point, and they weren't there yet. But there was no question that Mike Pressler was on the express train to winning more than one national championship, had that whole scandal never unfairly halted his time there.
I agree.
So I would say Mike Pressler
Number one.
was absolutely the most successful coach to transfer from Division I head coach to a Division III head coach to Division I.
Role. Right. I agree. But now I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you because you said Dave Urich, number 2. I'm going to throw out a guy that's still coaching right now. And, of course, Mike Pressler's still at Bryant. But let's face it, Bryant to make a national championship there, they were close. They beat Skews in that first round. Probably not going to happen. Mike Murphy went from Haverford to Penn. Now, he did do some stops around the D1 world.
Yeah.
But we're talking about D3 head coach to D1 head coach. He did a great job at Haverford. Incredible job at Haverford. And I still think he's doing a great job at Penn. Now, if you look at it in terms of championships, he's never won an outright Ivy League championship. And I'm sure that burns every night that he wakes up in the morning. But he did win an Ivy League tournament.
He did win an Ivy League tournament, though.
That is correct. So where do you stack Mike Murphy up against Mike Pressler and Dave Urich? And by the way, those would be arguably your top 3.
Mike Murphy still has a
he's got a long way to go.
He still probably has 15 to 20 years of coaching ahead of him. So
he's got a long way to go.
I believe that Mike Murphy eventually will pass Dave Urich. Eventually, I believe that. He has not done that yet. And the reason he hasn't done that yet is because Dave Urich took Georgetown, which was a club program, to a Final Four, right? Mike Murphy, while he's done a great job at Penn, took over for Brian Volker, who did a great job at Penn himself. And Penn actually went to the Final Four under Tony Seaman. And they won playoff games with Brian Volker.
That's true.
And, so it's a program that has been there before when Tony Seaman was there in 1988, where Dave Urich took Georgetown, which was not even a Division I team, to a Final Four. Mike Murphy has yet to do that at Penn. Now, I believe that Mike Murphy will eventually get Penn to a Final Four. I think at some point he will eventually do that. And for his sake, I hope it's sooner rather than later. But until he does that, I don't think you can say that he's done a better job in the transition from head coach Division III to head coach Division I than Dave Urich. I don't think you can say that yet.
Well, we're going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. And I know there are probably a bunch of other guys that we haven't, but if there are guys that we haven't mentioned, they probably are no-go. Jim Stagnita. Jim Stagnita went from Washington Lee.
Yeah.
He did a great job at Washington Lee. In fact, I have a great story about Jim Stagnita going from Washington Lee to Rutgers. Jim, when I was in the recruiting process, there was no one in the country that recruited me other than Ricky Soul as hard as Jim Stagnita did it at WNL, and they didn't have the same rules at Division I. He called me every day. He called me every day. Yeah. And finally, my mom was like, "Look, you got to tell him you don't want to go D3. You got tons of offers. Well, not tons. I'm not going to pump myself in the back. Tonnage. You got to offer some D1. You're going to go D1." So I was like, "Hey, coach, I really appreciate your persistence, but I really feel like at this point I'm going to go to Division I." He said, "Hey, I really appreciate your Division I play us a lot." Hung up the phone. Yeah. Then in the same year, he gets the Rutgers job. Calls me right back. My mom, of course, she runs the household. She answers the phone, every single phone call, and says, "It's Coach Stagnita again." And I'm like, this was like, I don't know, 4 months later. And I'm like, I just told the guy I didn't want to go to WNL. And I'm like, "Hey, Coach Stagnita, how you doing?" He's like, "Hey, Ryan, I'm at Rutgers now." Division
Your IROC will fit it a lot better down here than it will up in Hanover.
But I wasn't even committed then. I was like, and he was like, "Do you want to come to Rutgers?" I'm like, "Coach, I'm kind of interested now, but I have a lot of process I got to go through." And he was like, "That's all I needed to hear." And then, dude, he's an animal. But yeah, Jim did not exactly go from WNL at the same success as he did when he went to Rutgers. There's no question about that.
Yeah, I think I would put Jim Stagnita's transition from D1 to from D3 to D1 right on par with Mike Murphy's. Right, he goes to Rutgers, and I believe with Delby Palace they go to the playoffs. Oh my God,
they were great. Havlicek was the goalie too. He was awesome.
He was great. So, but I would say that's about the same body of work right now. Now, I believe Mike Murphy will continue to have success at Penn and will be more highly regarded as handling that transition better. Ironically, Staggs coached with Murphy last year, so kind of odd. But I do think that Staggs certainly did a good job. Whether you can say it's successful or not, I think that to make the NCAA playoffs in Division I at a school that doesn't traditionally make the NCAA playoffs is a huge accomplishment, and it's very, very hard to do. So,
I don't disagree.
Yeah. So
I wanted to mention Jim because Jim, I have a lot of respect for him. It's a big time program, but Jim's situation at Rutgers changed drastically since Brian Breck has taken over. Yeah. And Brian Breck might have been one of the few hires in the country that really wasn't on resume. It was more about performance. And that's, I think that, I don't know, I'm looking at you right now and I'm thinking, AT, you would agree with that. Brian Breck taking over Rutgers afterwards was purely on performance, had nothing to do with your resume, who you coached with, who you did this. I mean, Brian Breck spent, 15 years at Siena and did a killer job there.
Yeah, he did.
An incredible job. And we were all pumped as a Division I world when he got the Rutgers job because guess what? Rutgers has that capability.
Because he earned it the way that when you're an assistant coach at Division I, you hope everybody gets their job.
He's
not kissing rings. He's not, he's not trying to position himself politically to get a job through anything other than performance-based, which was why everybody was so happy when Brian Breck got that job. And then to go on and see him come back and have the season that they had this past spring,
awesome.
After, a 2-12 season where he got suspended for unfair treatment, whatever the bullshit was that it's just great to see. I don't think there's a person out there that knows anything about the sport that doesn't root for Brian Breck to be successful.
The next one is Kyle Hannon, and I'm going to group the.
He's a great coach too. Great coach.
And that's what everyone says. Kyle Hannon is one of the best out there.
Mm-hmm.
Goes from Division III Goucher to running Mercer, and I'll tell you in his first year, and to be honest, right now, I mean, Mercer is in contention for the SoCon every single year. And while they might not produce, say, as many wins as a lot of programs or recruits want to see in that whole process, Kyle Hannon has gotten the job done. He's done a great job. He's definitely brought Mercer to the next step. But in terms of D3 to D1, is he quite there? And can he do it at a school like Mercer? That's really the question.
I think that if you're talking about Kyle Hannon going to win a national championship at Mercer, the answer is no. That's not going to happen, okay? But you look at the job that he's done at Mercer, right? They finished 5-8 this year in the Southern Conference, 3-4. But you look at, the wins that they had in the league. They pounded Jacksonville 12-5. They beat Furman, 12-10, who had Ohio State dead in the water. They beat High Point. I'm sorry, they lost to High Point. But they only lost to Air Force 15-13 the first weekend in April. And Air Force, as we know, was
scary
and as good as anybody. And so I think the answer is, can he win the Southern Conference at Mercer?
Oh my God, yes.
And the answer to that is absolutely he can. And he's taken a team that, had virtually no identity other than losing 20-2 to everybody every season, and has now put a serious scare into every team that has to play them, not just in the league but out of the league. So I think the answer is yes. I think he can be very successful. I think they're going to win a conference championship sooner rather than later. And does that lead to him getting a job that at a school that supports their program more than that? And I think that the answer is yes. So I think that he eventually is going to be coaching a top 10 program, which will be at a different school other than Mercer, but I think he will have earned that the old-fashioned way.
So the next two were Guy Van Arsdale went from Colorado College to Jacksonville. We all know how that ended up. Yeah. And then Steve Manita from Mercy College, which was D2 to Manhattan. But all in all, coming back to the original point, which is D3 to D1 head coaching opportunities, there's not a whole lot of success in general when you look at it. And then you can pick some of the top schools. I mean, look, Mike Daly has got a chip on his shoulder, much like Nick Myers did over the last year with all that's gone before him.
Yeah.
I think that, for you as a Brown Bear fan and alum, it should be interesting to see how Mike Daly does. Now, it's probably a better transition than most coaches come in to their respective jobs, knowing that, hey, look, he had an assistant that ran his system to a T while he was there, but he's not there anymore. He's bringing his entire staff with him. Now, Brett Holm comes on board, who's from Providence, but obviously no Tufts. He's an alum from Tufts. And, of course, you got the kid Callahan who will come on. He'll do his thing there, too. I'm just saying, is there a huge precedent for D3 to D1? There's not. But
if I wasn't biased in that I really want Mike Daly to succeed. If Mike Daly was taking over, Penn or any place other than Brown, I would be betting against
Mike Daly,
his success. I would be betting against. Yep. I wouldn't be betting against so much Mike Daly personally as much as I would be betting against the decision of a Division I athletic director to hire a Division III head coach just based on the data points that we've referenced in the last 10 minutes, right? It's hard to say that, great hire. He's hiring a D3 head coach to be a D1 head coach. That's going to work out great when we both know it hasn't worked out great for hardly anybody, right? So it remains to be seen, but I'm extremely optimistic that if anybody can do it, it's Mike Daly. And personally, I hope he does it. And I think he will do it, but Casey
D'Onofrio comes in, replaces Mike Daly at Tufts.
Yeah.
As we talked about before, he just basically changed a vowel in his.
Right, he's coaching at Tufts now.
He's coaching at Tufts now. He coached for Taft School. Now, a lot of people had a lot of beef about this. First off, shut up.
Right.
No one knows.
Look out another window, Mrs. Kravitz.
Yeah. I mean, shut up. First off, it's a D3 school. What are the
taking over your NFL team? So back off.
Right? You think they're going to get Bill Tierney to come in and coach college? Shut up. First off, no disrespect for Casey D'Onofrio by saying that. If anything, I actually should, making the Tierney to D'Onofrio comparison should actually compliment him. But look, Casey D'Onofrio has done an incredible job at Taft. He knows the recruiting process on the other half. Yep. He knows the same kid that's going to want to go to Tufts in the first place. So shut up.
And he played for Daly. Daly's going to pave the road for him and make it, because now Daly, is obviously a Tufts alum. He wants to see the program continue to thrive.
No doubt.
He had a hand in that hire.
Absolutely.
And so you got every reason to believe that Casey D'Onofrio is going to do a great job. He is. And let's face it, he's a great guy. He's a smart guy. He's an alum, which is what we spoke about earlier in the podcast. The only thing he doesn't have is he hasn't been currently, in college coaching. But, you've got he's got a lot of resources to lean on. And I have every reason to believe that, Tufts is going to continue to be one of the best programs in Division III.
Well, if you think about it, just in general, between D3 and high school, there's no difference. You can't touch NESCAC schools until February 15th. Guess what?
Right.
Taft, I bet, is on the field before February 15th to begin with. So, in fact, outside of just dealing with better talent all the time.
And he knows how to sell the school. I mean, look, he's not it's not like he's trying to sell kids, against other super high-end academic urban environments. The schools that can hang academically, Williams and Amherst and maybe Middlebury, academically with Tufts are all different geographically. Absolutely. And he's an alum. He knows how to sell it. I think that, you get 10 great kids, 7 of them in the lacrosse world usually want to go urban. Right. And the 3 that don't, maybe he gets 7 of the top 10 and 1 goes to Middlebury and 1 goes to Williams and 1 goes to Amherst. Although I will say, I think JT at Amherst has put together an incredible program.
Yes.
2 of the kids that he has coming up here, one, this kid, Colin Minikis from Darien, who I personally think was the best player in the state of Connecticut and one of the best in the whole country last year, is going to Amherst. And he's probably going to play 2 sports. And he's going to be somebody that's going to be a first-team All-American as a sophomore up there. And we're going to say, who the hell is this kid and how did he end up going to Amherst? But
that's true.
So I think that Amherst is going to take a huge jump. But I do think Casey D'Onofrio is a great hire there, regardless of what the the rest of the lacrosse world thinks.
We got 2 topics left on this podcast. We've got Utah. Huge developments there and a lot of controversy there. And then we're going to end the show with who's better, Casey Powell or John Grant Jr.? I had posed that question a couple months ago, but we're going to hash it out right on the podcast. We'll be right back. Max Marshall.